And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking about the final injury report for the Washington Commanders, and then we're going to be looking at some keys to this game. Hopefully, the Washington Commanders can come out with the win. But let's start with the injury report surrounding the Washington Commanders. Right now, we have Marshon Lattimore that is going to be out. This is the second straight game that Marshon Lattimore is going to be missing. He has a hamstring injury. And this hamstring injury is something that the Commanders knew when they traded for him, but he's still not ready to go. So he's going to be out. Next up, they do get some good positive news off this injury update this week. We have Brian Robinson Jr. He will be back out there. It looks like he is a full go. And that is going to be huge for this offense because they need to lean on Brian Robinson Jr. this week, especially to pound on that defense. Hopefully, we're able to get them to come up in the box and then go over the top with a lot of play actions and things like that. So Brian Robinson Jr. is back for the Washington Commanders. Next up, Austin Cyber is going to be out for his second straight week. We have Zane Gonzalez that is expected to go ahead and start for him. He did very well against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2 field goals, hit all 3 of his extra point attempts. So he did very well in replacing Austin Cyber. And so hopefully Zane Gonzalez is able to take care of business against the Eagles. We certainly are going to need that aspect of the game. Next up for the Washington Commanders, this is going to be, I think, one of the more challenging situations with what's going on with the offensive line. Andrew Wiley, who missed Sunday because of a shoulder injury, is listed as questionable in this game. Cornelius Lucas, he missed 2 games. He's listed as questionable. He was a limited participant in this week's practice. And so, those are some major injuries on the offensive line. And certainly the Washington Commanders need their offensive line to be able to run the football effectively. And then also to give Jaden Daniels the time that he needs as a passer and also as a runner to find those lanes and things like that. And so as we shift focus and we look at some of the key statistics going into this game, look, starting with the Eagles and their offense, this offense, I think, has gotten better each week. And right now they're at 25.9 points per game, which is tied for 7th. But more importantly, they are top 10 as far as a red zone scoring offense. And so I think that when the Washington Commanders when the Eagles get into the red zone, the Washington Commanders defense needs to make sure that the Eagles are kicking field goals and they are not getting points in the red zone. I think that could be major, especially if you're scoring touchdowns, they're scoring field goals. That might be the difference to win this game. So that, I think, is key takeaway number 1. The Washington Commanders need to make sure that they limit the Eagles as far as the points scored in the red zone. And right now, with the Washington defense, they're currently ranked at 12th, only giving up 21.7 points per game. That's a great thing. Then also, too, the Washington Commanders right now are tied for 9th in sacks. And so I think that is a clear advantage for the Washington Commanders. They're not giving up that many points right now, almost in the top 10. So I think that they're definitely going to need to do that as far as making them kick field goals. But next, when you're getting home with those sacks and things like that, that could definitely change the course of the ball game because 1, you could flip the field. 2, when you put Jalen Hurts in a pressure situation, I think that Jalen Hurts might turn the football over. Last week against the Dallas Cowboys, we saw that he fumbled the football. He also threw an interception as well. And that is something that is a tendency of Jalen Hurts, especially when you put some pressure on him. So that is key number 2. The Washington Commanders need to get home, get those sacks, get at least some pressures, make it difficult for Jalen Hurts. And I think that he's going to give this defense some opportunities to go out there and make some plays. And so next up, another thing that the Washington Commanders must limit is they have got to limit A.J. Brown, and they've also got to limit Devontae Smith because, look, A.J. Brown has done his thing against the Washington Commanders, but over the last 6 games, 5 out of those 6 games, he's had 80 yards at least in those games. And so, look, we don't have Marshon Lattimore. That means that there's going to be a lot more pressure on St. Juste. And then also, too, that is going to put pressure on our rookie, Mike Samra still, and then also too, you have Quan Martin back there. So the secondary is certainly going to be tested. And I'm hoping that, the Washington Commanders do not give up the big play, much like they did last week, where we had St. Juste really bit on that inside fake by Mike Williams. Then Russell Wilson goes over the top. And so you do not want to do that, because Jalen Hurts will go over the top very quickly. And, hopefully this secondary can stay disciplined and keep everything in front of them. And so, next up for the Washington Commanders on the offensive side of the ball, look, the offense has been humming. We're averaging 29.2 points per game, which is the fourth best in the league. But more importantly, we are fifth in third down conversions. And so, look, I think that we have to put up the points. We definitely need to score touchdowns and not field goals. And then when it comes down to the third downs, we got to make sure that we keep the Eagles on the field. I think that as you continue to wear this Eagles team down defensively, I think that is where you can really start to open them up, because their front four is actually pretty good. It's really the back half of the defense that I think can be had here. And so I think that as you keep this defense on the field, that is where you're wearing them out with Brian Robinson Jr. He's giving max punishment out there to the defense. I can see a game where, we can see that identity for the Commanders definitely show through with the running game. And I could see us kind of going ahead and dominating the time of possession, hopefully, if we're able to keep this team on the field. So, with that being said, the Eagles do not give up a lot of points. And so they only give up 17.9 points per game. That is good enough for sixth in the NFL. And so if we're scoring points, I definitely think that the Eagles are for sure going to be in trouble. And they're 13th right now as far as third downs are concerned. So they're 13th in the league. So we have the opportunity to take advantage of keeping this team on the field. So, lastly, I think one of the things that the Washington Commanders are going to need to do is they just need to go out there and make sure that they do not get away from running the football if it's not working. I think that the games where we have really lost and games that have gotten away from us is where we just get away from that identity. Like last week, even though the run was not as successful as we'd like, I think that you still go out there and you still find ways to pound the football and then try to open up a defense that way. I think that probably led a little bit to maybe the struggles that maybe Jaden Daniels had as far as trying to unlock that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. But taking nothing away from the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, that's a great defense. But I think that we don't want to become one-dimensional at this point. As good as Jaden Daniels is, and I think he's able to overcome that kind of stuff, but you don't want to make yourself one-dimensional. I think that becomes easier to guard. That makes it tougher on Jaden Daniels and puts a lot of pressure on him to have to make a lot of plays down the field. And that might have been maybe what led to some of the speeding up for him last week, because there was the added pressure to make plays there because we were off balance. And so I think the Washington Commanders need to stay on balance here. They give themselves a chance to win this game. I think that this is going to be a tight football game. A lot of people have the Eagles to win this. Obviously, being a Commanders fan, I think that we can do this. I think that this is going to be a 30 to 27 game. I think it's a 30 to 27 game. I think points are put up. I think it does come down to, can the Commanders just get the Eagles to kick that field goal or two while we're scoring touchdowns? So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. What are the keys to this game coming up? I will be on the pregame for the Washington Commanders versus the Eagles tomorrow. Until the next one, this is Rico. This is Washington Commanders Insider. See you on the next one. Peace.